Okay. I thought about having different tabs for each one, but I found out that I was getting very confused. So it was just easier to log out. When you're an admin, and you can turn this off if you don't want it for privacy, but admins have the most permissions. And for my demo site, I left it on. You can log in as people and see what they're seeing, which is sometimes is nice for troubleshooting, especially like over the phone. What are they seeing? I don't see that because as an admin, you see everything. So now you can see up here, I'm in as Jessica Fredrickson and I'm a manager. Okay. And so I have my own learning and things that are going on too, because we're a learning organization and everybody's learning. But I have a few other things that a learner that's not in management wouldn't have. So one of the things I love is the My Team dashboard. This gives me some very quick statistics on the people who are associated with me, and the system knows who goes with whom, and it can make cascading reports in the report builder, which we'll see later. So it dynamically knows that this is my team. And another thing you'll learn about the report builder when you're in as an admin, it'll say edit this report if you're an admin. We could have different statistics pull up. So most of the platform is reports that are configurable. So this is the out of the box My Team, but that you could have different things show up. So let's, I'm not sure if anybody has a learning plan. Okay, so this person doesn't, but let's say I did a review of Randy and we wanted together to create a learning plan. We could definitely do that. This brings me to Angie's. Let's look at her profile. So some things is I could go quickly to the evidence she's uploaded, her record of learning, any learning plans, her competency profile, any things that she's bookmarking or learning for informal learning, because that is a form of learning, her job assignment. We can click there if we want to, and it's going to say her title and her manager. Okay, which is kind of interesting. But and then everybody has preferences. So how you want to get notifications, what language you want to see the platform in, and on it goes. So I could quickly see some things there. I can see any webinars. She's a bad example because she's the trainer. But we could see if Anna is booked for anything. Oh, I think I did record of learning, her bookings. Let's go here. So I could know what days she's going to be out of the office, or if she's not in the office, is she out of training? What's going on there? Her record of learning, if there's any goals, that can be part of the whole perform. Any training that she did not pick, like compliance training that's required. So she's got these two things, and I can quickly see where she's at and talk to her about that. I'll also, if the notifications are being sent, set up that way, if she's overdue, I'll be getting some notifications letting me know that she's overdue as her manager. Can see her competency profile and her evidence. And then just as a glance, I can see where my team and how busy they've been. I can export this. Yeah, and a lot of the platform is like this, where we can configure it of maybe you want other things to be at your fingertips. So that's one thing I can do. Let's say I want to go to Anna and Anna's competency profile. I can assign her more competencies. I can also start to rate competencies. Maybe I observe her on the floor and I know that she's starting to be able to do some things. So I could say and I could say things like this, and she'll be able to see this. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. Well, depending, I didn't check what the cron job sometimes you can set when things run. So sometimes it's every hour, sometimes you can have it on the minute. I didn't check my demo site yet. So now it says there is a scheduled task to update this. So if we come back later, depending on when it's scheduled to run, her competency will start to change, and it's telling us it hasn't yet, it hasn't been scheduled yet. But then if I wanted to assign her some, I could do something like this and assign competencies. Yes, I want to continue. And now she's got this one is one framework for new nurses. Now I directly assigned another one. And yeah. And then this one's going to have a separate graph. The graphs change because sometimes, like in a big organization, I just did one for ISO certification. They have many. Then the graph changed so that it best accommodates the view for how many you have. So seeing that there's only one, a bar graph might work really good there. So that's why that looks slightly different. The yellow is what the target is what minimum proficiency is. Notice she could go beyond or above. And so it kind of shows the learner, okay, I'm here, the achievement, my current achievement level, and here's the bar that I'm expected to get to. Yeah. Okay. The other thing is, as a manager, I might have to rate people on these reviews and so on. So if I go to develop and I go to activities, first of all, I also have to do an appraisal for myself, just like Anna did. But as her manager, I have several people that I have to do answer the questions as well. And so I have to do that. And then depending on the workflow, sometimes you both see it at the review or before, and then you can talk, and depending on your flow, if you're going to work to have a final. So it says looking back, view only. So I guess as a manager, I'm only going to see what they said. And then this would be open to both. So you get to make your own workflows too. All right. Now, questions about the supervisor role. Otherwise, I'm going to log out. You think of questions while I log in as Angie. She's going to be the course creator and facilitator. All right. So I'm going to log out. We'll log in. Now we're going to go to that user. Rob and Tracy, any questions? Group's kind of quiet. That always makes me nervous when a group is quiet. What are they thinking? All right. All right. So we'll log in as Angie. So Angie has she's got the course creator role. So Totara has a lot of built-in roles, but you can also, because everything's customizable, make your own roles and permissions too. So I just went with the straight course creator role and facilitator role. She's an instructor in a course too. But if you have certain use cases and certain permissions and certain roles, you can name them and set those up custom as well. If we look at Angie's site admin, it's a lot smaller than the site admin, but she can manage users. She can also work on courses and categories. And so let's go to the repositioning course and start looking at things from, let's see, I thought she was in, yeah, let's try one more. I thought, well, let's see here. Let's create a course. Let's do that. I thought she was she was in there as a teacher, but she can create a new course, and we'll see how this works. So Totara has a marketplace, and it has different vendors. So this is Go One. I think they have 177,000 courses. Of course, you have to purchase them. It's also integrated with LinkedIn Learning. You can add other third-party vendors, which I think was something that you asked about. You can also create one from scratch of your own content. So let's just do Angie's course, and we'll go there. And then Um, you can choose the categories and you can have nested categories. You can tell what type it is, and then that can be searchable in the catalog if you want it to be, because the catalog's configurable too. So if you just wanted to know what are the live events or so on, you can have start dates, end dates, or they can be open. ID numbers are nice. You can upload courses. Um, that sometimes is useful for integrations or uploading course records. If I want it to be mobile friendly, usually you have that as yes. Then I could have a summary, and you could choose to have that in the show more in the catalog, which is what I did. You could have any kind of files maybe that you want them to read or see ahead of time. We'll expand here. In Totara, anything with a red asterisk has to be done. Everything else is optional. So just know that, because it can be slightly overwhelming with all the choices at first. But you could have created a course just with its name. You wouldn't have to do all of this if you don't want to. There are different formats and layouts of how your course can appear, how many sections you want in it. You can have an icon, and that can show up in the catalog. You can have a course image, and that's what's showing up on the dashboard and in the catalog. You could force it in a language, show. Usually adult learners aren't going to have a grade book. It might be pass fail, things like that. I want completion tracking. I want to know when they first started looking at it. I could have, this is where the question before about due dates, I could have a relative or a fixed date. We'll ignore that part for right now. In the system, you can rename things like a find and replace. So you can truly make the platform what you want. So now we've got the setting here. Very much like a dashboard, you have these blocks. So if I wanted a banner, I could do a featured links block. I can do all different kinds of widgets, and those like a calendar and so on. But when I want to add content, first of all, I could say welcome. Oftentimes you use the first section for something that you want to be always there. If it's just going to be a SCORM, sometimes I just put it up here and get rid of the others so that there isn't extra things. But in each section, all you do is add a resource or activity. This is the huge toolkit that a course designer has of tools that they can add. And it is pretty exciting. So, if you wanted SCORM, you would click here. Each thing tells you what it does. There can be step-by-step tutorials. I don't like reading directions, so I usually just wing it and do add. Then it will tell you for that activity what you have to do. So you have to name it, and you're going to have to upload your SCORM. You can drag it or you can find it on your computer. Then you have all kinds of options, and it's sort of like a wizard for each activity. So how do you want that to display? I kind of like that look. What do you want in your SCORM to display? Are there due dates? Are there unlimited attempts? If there are, which one are you going to grade? And I'll say highest. Let's see. When we get down here, every activity has restrictions. So you could say all kinds of things like a date, or you had to finish something else or something like that. Here, how are you going to track completion? So it'll kind of give you the right things for that type of activity. So for here, I'm going to actually say that SCORM can either be passed, like there's a pass fail, or you have to complete every slide and it won't let you go on. If you're using third-party vendors, it can be hard to guess what they might have done. So I just do both, and then it'll pick whichever one is best for that package. And so now it'll be tracked and ready to roll. It's not going to show for me because I didn't put a SCORM, but then it would have shown here. So that's how you add content. Very simple. Anything you want to add, an assignment, it'll tell you how, and you're off to the races. Um, I want to go, I might log in as a site admin
So
and
Tammy,
make,
while you're making that transition, let me ask a question for Katie. Is there a built-in survey tool?
yes, it's called the feedback tool. Yeah, and that's often used for evaluations. You can also make templates and call them in different courses. Great question. Okay.
And another question from Julianne, is there a way to bulk upload SCORM content?
I would say if you set up, the system has a way to do repositories. And so you can set up a repository for Box or YouTube or things like that. There's a long list, and you could put your stuff there, and you can even have the system scan for updates and replace it, I guess, in the different places where it is. That's about the closest that I can think of. I don't know of any other bulk upload for SCORM, but a lot of people like doing a repository type thing. Yeah. Okay.
Tammy,
Uh,
we actually have a script to do that based.
oh, you
Yeah.
rock.
Yep. Just wanted to
You
share.
rock.
Sorry.
Yeah, please. Thank you. I'm in as my admin because I must not have given Jessica the rights to all the courses. Like she only had in her tenant. So I'm going to pretend that we're Jessica and just show you a few more things that Jessica can do. Now you'll see I have a lot more permissions. Even the admin dashboard you can configure and you can take things away or add things. These are the most common admin things. You can put them in different orders in the way that you use it. And that can be by individual admin too. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go to the back end of courses and categories. I could have searched through the catalog. We're going to go to your category of courses. And I think I want to go here and look at that SCORM. I have a SCORM here because SCORM reporting was important to you. And Angie, for whatever reason, didn't have the permissions. So you were asking, like, can we see things by the question level? You can. When you click on it, and you're in as an admin or a course creator, you can go to reports. We can see some analytics here, but we can keep drilling down. So far, only Anna Gross has worked on this. We can see that she passed and how long. But from here, I can look at learning objects and track details. And we can get more into the interactions. Oh, shoot. Where to track details? There is a way to get to the questions, and I practice this because I don't often do this. I'll have to get the directions for that later, but you can see it at the question level. Because that's a lot of clicking, a lot of times, if that's really important to me, I might do the Totara quiz, which is very robust. I've actually used it for a project and let's see. Here we go. This is the screen I was looking at. So this is where we can get some of those analytics here. Um, but I also like the quiz in Totara because it also has really good analytics that are a little easier to get to. So you could have it in your SCORM. You can drill down and get it and download it. Here is one attempt of a quiz. And I guess they're somewhat similar, but I can see how overall the group is performing. I can see by question. I can click on questions or see their journey. So if I wanted to see Anna, this is how she answered it. So that can really help with your course design if you're seeing or you're training that certain questions are tripping people up. And that was something that you asked about too. I want to get to that seminar next. How am I doing on time, Rob? I have a feeling I'm getting dangerously close.
No, we're only at 3:22.
Okay. All right. So we're okay. All right. Maybe, yeah.
Just a question. So the quiz you just showed, that was those are the questions that are authored directly in the tool versus a separate development tool, correct? Outside of SCORM?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
did both. I personally think if that's important to you, the Totara quiz is a little few clicks to get at the question analysis, but you can do it with SCORM. You could see I struggled a little bit as to where it was, but you can get it out. Yeah. So
Okay.
both ways will work. My personal preference is it just depends. Sometimes I put it in SCORM, but I'm more at the pass fail. And then if I want something more robust for quizzing, although Articulate does a lot too, the Totara quiz is pretty awesome, I think. Does a lot. So I want to get into that seminar because I think that's going to be important for your use case. And let's look at let's see, this sim day, how a seminar might look. So now I can turn editing on, and I must not have had Angie as a true course creator because she should have had a button like that too. So then suddenly I can edit everything, add blocks, and so on. Here, if I wanted a seminar or a live event, what we can do is add an activity and then seminar is what you would click. So we'll go over the settings of everything that I set up to make this and the choices that I made. So I put a description, which again, this can show up in the catalog and we can categorize it and decide how. I could have it on the course page. How many events on a page before you have to do show
Question,
more?
Tammy, just really quick. What is there a character limit for the description field?
Oh, excellent question. And I don't know. I recently was asked in the 360 tool and it was something like 2055, but I think we're gonna have to parking lot that one because I don't know. Yeah. Great question. I'll find out for you. Good question though. So are you going to allow people to cancel? And that might seem kind of funny, but if there was a fee for lunch or you paid for lunch for these people and maybe they had to pay or each department had to pay for each amount of people, maybe at some point you're going to say, well, if they're a no-show, they still have to pay and they're not getting their money back or something like that. When can the people mark that they attended? And I'll try and demo that too. I wanted Angie to do that. And then what are some other important ones? There are so many seminar things that you can do. How many times can the user sign up? So I'm saying if they didn't go to the one they were assigned, if they were partially attended, no show, or unable to attend, they get one more shot at it. You can have wait lists. You can have people declare interest if it's full, and that can be interesting in your offerings. Okay. Do they need approval from their manager? There can be a whole workflow for that setup. Could managers reserve so many spots for their team? Should it be on the calendar and you can have a course calendar, a site calendar? That can get kind of cool on a dashboard. You can have all your events and when they click on it, it shows more and then they can just join from there. That's kind of cool. And what will it be called as a short name on the calendar? Are there any access restrictions? How will you know if they completed this? So I said they had to fully attend and there's attendance taken, and if they aren't, they don't get credit for it. So that's what I did on mine. Let's see if take event attendance. I do have rights to do that. Okay, I wanted Angie to do it, but I'll do it. So you just go in here and you could do things like this. Yeah. And voila. And you can upload attendance. So that's where we would do that with the scanner. You can export it if you want to do something else with it and so on. So I like the attendance because that can count towards completion as well. Okay. Or a badge or things like that. Okay. As long as I'm in as admin, anything else you want to ask from a course creator or facilitator? Oh, there's some questions.
Yeah,
Great.
is there a spot to add credits? Like
Yes.
continuing education units? Okay.
And
then,
so you
oh,
can
go ahead.
have another thing, because you're probably so sick of this. Totara is so configurable all over the place. You can add custom fields, including on the course level or a program or any of these or a profile. All of those custom fields dynamically show up as available fields in the report builder without you having to do anything. So if I wanted to filter all the credit courses or all the 1 credits, I could do it. And so you can have infinite use cases of things that are added to a course that you want to filter by. So yeah, and that
And
could
the-
also show up in the catalog too.
And then are they able to like print that off, like a certificate of completion that shows the credits?
Yes, you can do that. So there is, when we were in great questions, let's just go here and make a certificate quick. So again, just to review, add an activity or resource, and we can add a certificate, and you can work with Seth. You can do it on your own too, but you can make the certificate look with your branding. And oftentimes people will give a Word doc and say, we want it to look like this and merge this information in, and he'll help you. So we'll call it certificate of completion. And then we have all these options that we can do. And you can even have like signatures uploaded. You can have different backgrounds and so on. So here they're saying, does anybody need a notification? And so that could be for the person who got it. It could be for the instructor. It could be for a third party. Do you want to save the certificates? Do you require that there's a certain minimum that they have to be working in the course that the system tracks before they can get it, not just take the quiz and get 100 and I'm done? Do you want to force them to download it, email it to them, show up in a new window? It'll be a PDF is what it'll be. Do you want the date to show up? Do you want the date format, the grade? Print outcome, credit hours right here. And then that can go right on the certificate. Do you want the trainer's name? Do you want anything custom to go in there? And then you can pick, this is where we could upload your background, your border, and you can use the default, but I've made some pretty ugly certificates on some banners. Then we can restrict access. This is important for this. So we are going to say that you must have been marked complete, which what we said they had to be fully present or they don't get the certificate. And then, so they won't get it, and I could have it emailed to them automatically. So again, that automation where you don't have to do this, you don't have to sign them and send them in the mail. The system can do that for you. Great call. Are tags created manually? Great question. I'll have to look at that too. I typically do. You can do them on the fly if you have the right permission. So oftentimes I think of one on the fly. I will have to look if there's a way to upload a list of them. Yeah. So we'll look into that. Another parking lot question. Good one. Okay, any other, these are really good ones, instructor, facilitator ones. Love the questions, keep them coming. Okay. Then I'm already logged in as admin. So we're gonna get into the report builder, which I will admit I am addicted to the report builder. So I'm old, and in the old days, you had to have like a MySQL background to be able to have custom reports, and you had to contact a programmer and get on the list. And it was a arduous process, but Totara has a very robust, amazing report builder in it. So when you are a site admin or whoever else you deem to have rights to create reports, they would go here, and if they have rights, it will appear and you go to reports. Now you might see reports up here. These are reports that have been assigned to different roles and users, and it will dynamically disappear if nobody has, if you're a learner and you have no reports. So that's different than the report builder. These are reports that have been created and dynamically fill with your information. In fact, we could just go there for a second and see if I have any. So these are different ones as a site admin that have been created that I could look at. And you can also schedule reports so that they get emailed at certain intervals to certain people. You can also embed reports into a dashboard if you want, and maybe we'll do that as a practice. We'll make a report and embed it somewhere, which really makes the platform exciting, that you have actionable data at your fingertips, like a manager dashboard or something like that. So you can create, if you have the rights here, or you can go up here to report. And I'm going to go to create report. And this interface just gets better and better with every version of Totara. More and more data sources get started. So they have a lot of common reports that you can play with, which is very helpful, and they're called data sources. And over here, they have ways that you can filter because it can be overwhelming. So if I wanted reports from the learner perspective, or, here are some common reports and topics, I could do that. So let's just do a learner one and see what options we have. Okay. I like, these are graphs, and it'll look more like a table if it is. I really like using templates for graphs, because otherwise you have to be good at math and know what the X and the Y should be. And usually I can't do that. So looking at one that I like and tweaking it is very, very helpful. So this one is showing that 8 of my courses have not yet started. I've not been busy. Okay, so then I go to edit this report, and the report builder always works this way. Totara likes tabs, and you don't necessarily have to do them in order, but it does help. And one thing is, you will find that people like me do get addicted to the report builder. And you might want to have naming conventions and ways of doing it in your organization. And it does help. Like, often I leave some tracks. For demo. And sometimes they're feeding into something like a dashboard, or they're scheduled. So you don't want somebody to delete it. And if you get a lot of reports, maybe you have like admin : if it's an admin type report. So you'll want to think through that, because you're going to love the report builder and you're going to make a lot of reports. So then these are the columns that they're suggesting. But these are all other columns that we could add to the report. Okay. And I don't want to ruin the lovely graph, so I won't. Over here, you can rename it to something that means something in your organization. So this was renamed to status. Instead of course ID, they named it number of courses. So you can name it. You can have things aggregate. So this is where the math comes in, and a template is better. So they knew that they're going to count up the course ID, and I didn't have to deal with that. You can make different types of graphs. Filters are very important as I work with clients, and we'll help you set up your first set of reports and kind of learn as we do it together. Sometimes the report is more about filtering it. Okay, so let's say we wanted to embed a report that shows the learner progress for just that course. We would filter by just that course, and you can save the search and embed the saved search into the course. Okay, so filters become very, very important. So let's just say I wanted date completed, and we can add that. And then usually you have to save, and then we can see it. View, here it is. So now I can say is after May 1st or something like that, and search. And then I can save this search and I can call it in other places like a dashboard. And sometimes the dates can be relative. After May 1st could make it the default view. So now I can pull that and it'll filter it for me. Or I could say like relative, I just want to see the last 365 days. I don't want to see all 4 years of the system. We can always go back and tweak. So when people are learning, it's okay to make a graph and make a report and make it private. You're not wrecking anything. This is where the cascading reports can become really cool. So I could say things like, just show my records, or I could say, show my direct reports. And then we only have to make this report once and put it on a manager dashboard, and it knows who's associated with who and will fill in the right data. So that's where it becomes very automated and powerful and visual as well. You can say who has access. So you could have a dashboard where some people can't see graphs and some people can, even though it's the same dashboard. Performance, don't use as much, but with some of our bigger clients, you can say when you want it to run so it doesn't slow anything down. You'd need millions of records for something like that. Some of your requirements ask for logs. You can get real-time logs. Those reports, if you have like 85,000 users, can get a little bit slower. So scheduling that and then having it emailed to somebody might be a really good way to go on a really big report with lots of users. Okay, any questions on Report Builder? It's super fun. You can tell I'm a data geek. Right. I want to go to the notification center, maybe one of my second favorite things in Totara from an admin perspective. So we did the Report Builder. As I was saying before, all of the notifications for systems are so conveniently put in one place. We don't have to hunt and peck around them. And like everything else, we can configure it, and we'll show you how. You can also see the logs. So if you made a mistake and something went out, you can see who it went out to at least. So that's helpful too. So these are different areas where notifications can go out. So this would be those collaborative workspaces, LinkedIn Learning. You can have different things that happen in courses at the activity level or at the whole course level. Approval workflows would be like anything with Perform, the seminar, live events, performance activities, which can be things like check-ins, reviews, 360 reviews, certifications, or programs. Let's do program because that's what I did today. You decide which ones you want on or off, first of all, and then you can configure from there. So you can create a notification. Let's just see. Let's create one. So you would name it something so you know what it is. They don't see this. So I'll put learner assigned. Okay, so when a learner is assigned to a program, I want them to be notified. It's going to go to the learner. I could have the manager as well. How do I want that delivered? So right now it's set to all of these: email, Microsoft Teams. You could force certain ones because this is the default, but in a user preferences, they can turn these things off. But if I still want it to override their preferences and go out as an email, I could. And then I could say, let's see, I want the name of the program. So if you use a bracket, these are all the things that you can mail merge in. And I could say things like, let's do that one more time. You, I can't type, have been assigned to, and we're going to go into program full name. Okay. You can also have this show up in the learner's preferred language. There's a way to turn that on and do that too. So we do have clients doing that. And we'll do the subject's first name. Dear so-and-so, you have been assigned, and we can do that program full name, which is due on, and we could put the due date. There you go. Sincerely, and again, whatever you want, the training team, and I'll enable that. So now when somebody is enrolled in that program, which might be a dynamic audience, they're going to get this email. But again, the course creator could override and have their own, turn it off at the course level or the program level if he or she didn't want it. So the ones that I went for is I did assigned, I did, let's see, and these are the different ones that I set up, and you can always edit them. So I did when you're assigned, I did when it's completed, and I have the manager and the subject. I have when a set is completed, that could go out if I have a due date. I didn't in my example. I have some things when we're getting close to the due date. So I had one day before, I had one for the day. If they still haven't done it on the day, so many days after, and then I added the manager is how I did mine. So you can have, that's why I have multiple ones here. So I had different use cases. Exceptions are important for the site admin. I don't even play with that one, but the system will tell you if you make a mistake or it thinks you're making a mistake before the email goes out. So let's say they just started and I had a fixed day of May 22nd and they just became a nurse. It'll say, are you sure you want to assign Chelsea that because she just got hired today, and do you want her dashboard to say she's already overdue and get her manager emails saying she's late? And it'll let you fix what it thinks the mistakes are and tell you what it thinks the mistakes are. And that email won't go out until you clear it and say, yeah, I still want it overdue, or no, I want to fix that. So I have found that invaluable in not getting embarrassed, especially with email. Great. Anything about Notification Center? Otherwise, if we're still good, I
We
might
are
go.
still good.
Okay.
I'm just going to just blanketly say this to the entire audience. We have 15 more minutes, and I
Okay.
know Tammy
Oh,
can go
yeah,
ahead
let's,
and
yeah,
show
I
as
could
much as
go on and
possible.
on. Yeah, let's do
But
your choice.
if you have any questions, please, this is the moment to go ahead and ask.
Yeah, good call, Rob. Thank you. Okay.
But while they think up, Tammy, why don't you just keep going? Yeah.
Okay, competencies are probably my third most favorite from an admin. So we looked at how those are showing up at the competency profile, also highly, highly configurable. So in these demos, we didn't have achievement paths, but this is what I set up for today for our tenant. And so when I do competencies, the first thing you want to do is set up the scale. I went with the 4 steps to success, and we can look at that. You can have multiple scales and multiple ways of doing it. So for example, I'm on a US Department of Ed project and they have like a GS9, a GS15. Well, a 9 only has to be at the basic level, a 15 has to be an expert. So I can set up different scales and those can be applied in different ways. and maybe different departments have different things that make sense. So I kind of did this, and you can define these, name them. You decide what the minimum proficiency value is. So everything and above. So competent with supervision or competent will pass. When they first see it, they're going to see newcomer as a default, like if I was a rater. And so you can configure all of that. So first you set up what skills you want, which kind of makes sense, right? Then you can have these frameworks, which are really just groups. So a lot of times a client will have for every type of job, a framework of different competencies for that, perhaps. So I just put in 3. I didn't write very much. I have a description on 1. Let's just look at this one. So you add your competencies. Those can be bulk uploaded. And then you probably would have better descriptions than I do. But I have a link course. So I'm saying that they mandatory have to get the competency. They have to do that. And then I did the achievement path, and there are many that we can set up. I said that whoever gave the highest, either the manager or the appraiser, that would be a rating. So they have to rate using that scale, and they have to do both. They have to do the course, and either a manager or appraiser, which could be an instructor, has to put them at, what do we say, competent with supervision or above, or they don't get the competency. And so that's one example of how that could work. Then back to the automation, you can create assignments, and we can go to the different frameworks, and we can decide who's going to mass assign if you want to. So you could do by that dynamic audience, which is what I did, a position. In Totara language, organizations are often departments or an individual user, and you can bulk, kind of assign those things. So it's often that an entire position would get a set of competencies. And then you can mass assign them, and then that all shows up in their reports. Let's see, 2 more things, and I think and again, please ask questions if you have them. That makes it more fun. Here are the performance things in the admin. And if you want to make a performance activity, you go to activity management. And these are your dashboards. So maybe the HR person would set these all up. And so here you can see like they have a mid-year appraisal, end-year, weekly check-in, annual 360 feedback, start of the year. So let's look at the weekly check-in. And I didn't even create this one, somebody else did. So you would name it, things like that. Then you add your content, and you could say like when they completed, it's closed, for example, and you can view the content things. So there are different question types like SurveyMonkey. So they had some open-ended and one where they pick. And then, so this is like a pulse check. It looks like somebody created. Then you assign who you're going to assign, again by an audience or a department or a position or an individual. Then you decide who's, sometimes on a 360, they might ask people to fill it out on them, and who can decide who's going to do it. Then when should the system create it? So when can somebody join it? And I have open-ended in this one. And date type fixed. I often use relative. So like 365 days from hire, you would do your annual review and then repeating, so that now the HR person, this is all automated now. And so that's really great. And how many weeks, and who's going to fill out what, and so on. Then you can also, if you wanted to override the notifications from the notification center, I turned them all off. for the system, you could do it there. So that's a little preview of how you can make different performance activities and how the HR person can see what's running, can stop things, assign people, have as many things going as you want. And you asked a lot of questions about the catalog, if there are no questions. And so if we go to the home, here's the course catalog. That is configurable too. And there is a content marketplace we talked about, but we'll spend a whole workshop on the catalog if you configure with us. You can decide what types of things you want to feed into the catalog. If you want a tile list only, how many you want before they have to load more. Then you get these templates, which would be like the squares. And do you want the course image to come in? Do you want like hero data? And in Totara, there's built-in help. So they tell you what these things are too. Like you could have featured course, for example, and overlay that tile. Do you want the course description? Do you want additional fields? And if so, how many do you want to come in? Do you want icons? Do you want a progress bar? And then this would be the show more kind of thing. So once you define, okay, how many items, you go in and choose the items. So this is sort of like spot number 1, spot number 2, and if I have a third one, if I wanted to know what category. So this is deciding what is merging into that tile. And then this one is what's merging into the details. And then what filters do you want on the side? Right now we have absolutely everything. I think I would narrow that to not confuse learners so much. The catalog can also be audience-based. So you can have things that like a nurse would only see applicable nursing courses, that kind of thing too. So you can have it so that you see things that are applicable to the audience. Okay. Any other questions? That was everything on my list. I can't believe we made it through. Yeah. What about your list of criteria? Was there anything that I didn't show that was on there? Because Totara is very, very, very robust. And I was trying to fit it all into a use case. But I might, have not have shown, I didn't show everything Totara does. So was there anything you've seen in another LMS or your current LMS that you didn't see today that you were hoping to, that I could tell you yay or nay if it has it?
So going back to like the evidence, the different
Yeah.
options for evidence, what are the options there? Are like record your screen while you're doing something? Is that an option?
Great question. I have not seen that. Usually you upload evidence, but they're in the editor sometimes for some clients. Sometimes you can have a record in the editor. Out of the box, it's not that way. So I think I would stick to upload. So you could add a link. And when you add a link, let's say to a YouTube or a Vimeo or something, it automatically embeds it, even though it's still on Vimeo. So it looks like it's in the platform. You could upload a certificate from an external training source. You could take a video on your phone and upload that MP4, things like that. Yeah.
I had a question about language. I've asked this question of everyone. So we have a number of employees who have English as their second language. That's what I was going to ask. What languages are available? And can someone configure it for themselves? Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, there's two parts to that. I forget how many there are. Many, 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 many. These are the ones, these are not a list of all of them. What happens at the site level, and if we have time, we could do that, is you go to you decide which language packs you want on your site. So because the list could be like 53 long and you don't want people maybe to select if you only know you have 4. So you as a site admin decide which ones you want available. So this site comes out of the box with this many. Then if you want to, you can make that available for people to pick a preference. So these are all the things that are turned on that I can choose. And like open badges or a backpack of open badges is one, but let's go to language. Where is it? Preferred language. Okay. And then from the list that the site admin has said, I can choose. So out of the box, because this is from New Zealand, it had British English, but I wanted United States English for my site. So that's what I did, both for myself. And then the site admin can pick the default language for the platform as well. Yeah, great question.
Cool.
Same
Thank you.
thing with time zones and things like that can all be localized. Yeah. You guys ask really good, thoughtful
Tammy, we
questions.
we have one in the chat.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
talk about options for employees with multiple managers or alternate managers?
Yeah, so if I go to my profile, first of all, this is like general stuff, but then I can add a job assignment, or sometimes this is brought over dynamically. So we could say I'm a nurse and a nurse. This oftentimes you might think is a job ID number. It means that the system can handle multiple jobs over your career, or maybe you're doing more than one job. So my main job right now, or job 1 in my career, is nurse. And then here the manager would be picked, but you could also have a temporary manager. And when that maybe expires, you can also have an appraiser who might be marking off things like competencies sometimes too. You can have those people listed too. This would be your position and this would be your organization. So even though I listed it up here, they want the exact ID number, and oftentimes this is brought over in SSO because this is how we get cascading reports. So you can get something like out of the report builder, the CEO can see everybody, the department manager can see all the people in their department, and so on and so forth. And so you do that by picking where in the hierarchy you pick the exact position, exact organization, and those are pre-uploaded in a hierarchy so the system knows how to cascade the reports. So even though you can name it whatever you want, we need an exact here too. And usually those are brought over through some type of SSO so it matches what's in your HR system or something like that. Great questions.
So
Well,
I
we're
think
at
with
time.
that, it does take us to time. So if anybody has any questions that pop up, right, after these demonstrations, maybe you come back to the video later and you have something, please reach out to us. We will make sure that those answers come out. I do have one follow-up question that we are going to research for you, which is the description field. What's the character limit there? But I did not record any others.
I have
that,
one more.
yeah, what do
Tags.
you,
Tags, can they be
tags?
uploaded? Yeah, I wrote them both down. Yeah, those were good.
I'm sorry, I actually looked that up, and
Oh,
so, but we will look at so tags are either standard tags site wide, and then there's the ones that are defined by users on their own use as they add them in. But I didn't get the upload portion of that, so we'll follow up with that as well. But I wanted to thank everyone for your time today. I know this was a long virtual session.
yes, it
Tammy, you
was.
did a amazing job digging into the product. We really appreciate your attention to detail and all the setup that you put in here. It was great. I hope everyone here, appreciates that attention to detail that Tammy went into your requirements there. And again, please reach out to us with any other questions. Alistair, we will get back to you on references. Essentially, that's what you're looking for.
Less references, more just as there are people you would be happy with us talking to on an informal basis.
Okay.
I mean, don't worry if not. It's just curious if you had people that were happy to give testimony, and I'm not talking formal reference or anything like that. I'm just curious. Part of you knows you like.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll look into that as well. So
Cool.
thanks everyone. Have a great day. Have a great week. And Chelsea, I'll reach out to you for next steps.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks very much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.